Hello, everyone, and welcome to our RegTech Edge Borders event on conduct, culture, and ethics. In the spirit of reconciliation, the RegTech Association acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. Thank you for joining us. Since 2020, we've had over 19,000 people from more than 85 countries attend our programs. For this particular event, we've had 162 registrations from 17 countries, 51 regulated institutions, 17 government regulators, 4 investment and 53 RegTechs. So I wish to thank you for making the time to join us today, wherever you are joining us from. Now, before I get into the housekeeping of the event, I would also like to extend a warm welcome to Nathan Walker, who is our new community manager. Nathan has joined us last week, and we're excited to have him in accelerating the adoption of RegTech globally. He's also running the slides today, so thank you, Nathan. So housekeeping. Today will be recorded and every registered delegate will receive the link. Cameras and mics off, please, unless you're presenting. Thank you. And all questions in the chat. Don't be shy, ask our presenters some questions, and presenters, please jump in there and give your thought leadership or case study links after you've presented. There will also be some polls that come up now and then. There'll be 2, so we'd appreciate if you could answer them. And to our presenters, a reminder that at the 4-minute 30-second mark, you will see my face come on the screen. That's as a visual reminder that you've got 30 seconds left. And now it is my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Peter Deans from Not Without Risk Consulting, who will provide us with a quick overview on the current landscape. Peter Deans is a former Chief Risk Officer and retired from executive life in 2019 after a finance career of over 32 years. Peter is today an industry-leading risk management and strategy advisor throughout his firm, Not Without Risk Consulting. Peter is also currently non-executive director of NerdWallet Australia, the equities trading platform Trade for Good, and also the RegTech Association. Peter is also an advisory board member for several fintechs and startup companies. Thank you, Peter. Over to you.
Thanks, Alison, and a warm welcome to everyone who's here either in Australia or overseas. As Alison noted, I'm on the board of the RegTech Association, and I'm pretty sure it's pretty well 5 years this month or so that I've been on the board. And it's been an exciting journey to sort of see all of the RegTechs that we've had as members through the 5 years I've been involved, and also really this rise of the RegTech industry, both in the region and around the world, and to see again a fantastic lineup of RegTechs presenting tonight from all parts of the world is actually just fantastic to see. See the energy, the investment which is coming into the industry, and the fantastic ideas that are being delivered through the members. It really begs the question, what's been driving all this activity? And again, I think if you talk to anyone about RegTech 10 years ago, no one would have actually known what the term is. I've sort of done quite a bit of research in the area, and I think today I attribute to 6 factors, and I call them the 6 megatrends. It's a little bit cliched, but catchy. The 6 megatrends driving risk management and risk and compliance as well. And I think as you hear from the presenters this evening, you'll be able to see a lot of the 6 trends coming through here. And I'll go through them one by one in the next sort of 5 minutes or so. That's the ones up there on the chart. Nathan, I might just jump onto the next page to get into the first one. The greater interconnectedness, and we saw this even before COVID, where businesses, through the use of technology, were able to access markets, geographic areas. Previously you would have had to physically, get on a plane or open up an office. Today, with a myriad of technologies supporting trade in products and services, businesses can operate globally, and subject to tax and localization, they can trade right across the world. And of course, in the era of digital payments, they can transfer data, receive data instantaneously, which is the double-edged sword in terms of safety and security. Instantaneous transactions does create a lot of risk. And then the double-edged sword from a trade and commerce perspective is that previously, where you'd have sort of the perimeter around your country was effectively a barrier. Competition can come into any market from anywhere in the world. So whilst you have the opportunity for export opportunities in this new world, likewise the barriers to others competing in a home market are falling quite dramatically. Exciting times. Nathan, just on to the second one, thanks. The second one, and I'm sure we'll hear a little bit about this during this afternoon session, is really the rise of ESG. I don't think ESG is going away. There's been a little bit of pushback in the US over the last 12 months, a bit of that sort of anti-woke sort of group over there, but I think it is fundamentally an unstoppable force, whether it's climate change or whether it's wanting to see improved governance around a range of community and social activities. It's definitely pushing businesses to think about how they operate their businesses, and obviously reporting is a huge industry in the ESG space as well. I just touched on demographics at the back. I mean, there's risks and opportunities in these changes. I think understanding the demographic drivers behind ESG, and particularly the younger generation, studies have shown that they will pay more and they are more interested in buying products and services from organisations that have a acceptable or good ESG profile. Nathan, we'll just go on to the third one now. Look, it's very similar to ESG, but I think greater stakeholder demands for transparency and accountability, and certainly what you've seen in Australia with quite a lot of the conduct issues, from the Hayne Royal Commission back in 2017 and 18, a lot more expectations on transparency about, what you stand for as an organisation, how you operate, and how you actually, align yourself with community norms and the expectations of all stakeholders, including customers as well. For those that do it well, there's quite clearly a benefit in transparently talking about the values and how you operate. Nathan, just on to number 4, thanks. This is the flip side of the conduct side of things. I think it's becoming quite apparent now that the increased financial and regulatory downside, the reputation impact, the loss of shareholder value from serious regulatory compliance issues, the fines, and again, for those that are in Australia, be very familiar with, fines have been levied for misconduct and breaches of a range of regulatory requirements. I think this has been one of the really big drivers of the adoption of new technologies, because for a lot of these larger complex businesses which are handling, personal data, for example, it is impossible to actually manage the risks manually. The days of manual spreadsheets, pens and paper to manage some of these risks is fundamentally behind us. And it's cost effective as well. Adoption of new technologies has a very, very good business case. Nathan, on to number 5. I think, again, a little bit of the downside in the new technologies. Unfortunately, we're now seeing a whole lot of new cyber-enabled risks effectively emerging, where use of new technologies is actually creating a risk profile or a landscape where the cyber attackers can actually, using smart tools themselves, take advantage of the adoption of these technologies. And so, again, I think, and I know the businesses that we deal with through the association and I deal with separately, there's a very, very strong focus now on avoiding catastrophic cybersecurity, data privacy breaches and other events that are arguably preventable. And I think you're seeing a lot of investment coming into all the technology industries, be it cyber or RegTech, to address the increased risk that's emerged as a result. And then finishing off on number 6, and I would say this is the good news story a little bit, is that there's so much technology available now for business leaders, risk managers, business managers, to actually better carry out their activities, to make their organisations more resilient. I think the rise of software as a service conceptually over the last 6 or 8 years means that the barriers to adopting these new technologies have fundamentally dropped away as well. In the past, it would have been major IT project, hosted service to do any sort of software implementation. Now it literally can be just a flick of a switch and swipe of a credit card to sign up for the service. The challenge for business leaders is like, who do I choose? What prioritization do I put in place? But fundamentally, the technologies are there, and of course, we're in this exciting new era of AI, where I think in the years ahead, the amount of money being poured into AI, not just generative AI, but just AI more broadly, I think will deliver a whole new range of technology solutions, which will be of benefit to businesses, their customers, and the community at large. Alison, with that, I'll hand back to you and look forward to hearing from our presenters.
Thank you so much, Peter. That was great. Thank you. I'd like to invite to the virtual stage Complies, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Jackson Taylor. I'm an immigration lawyer and have been working for the past 2 to 3 years on an immigration compliance platform, which we call Complies. This is really about following on from what Peter was talking about, taking processes and systems that are really far too complicated to manage at a manual level with pens and paper and spreadsheets, and putting it into a system that is automated, that's been designed by subject matter experts. Nathan, if we could grab the next slide, please. So who are we? Well, I run a firm called Rome Migration Law. I've been a migration lawyer for about 15 years. The firm specialises in assisting employers and large organisations across Australia and internationally to bring people to Australia to work. So we work with a variety of public hospitals, Fortune 500 companies, local startups, all sorts of businesses around Australia. And something that we've seen for a long, long time is that almost no one actually complies with all of the immigration law obligations. Now, under the previous LNP government, that perhaps wasn't so much of an issue because it really wasn't much of a focus. But with the Labor government coming to power a bit over 12 months ago now, it's something that they're really looking at, and it's something that employers need to be aware of more than ever. I'll touch on why as we go. But as you can see, I've been doing this for a long time, and along the lines of what Peter was saying, I was thinking about these things 10 years ago, 15 years ago, but the technology simply wasn't there. And now with the rise of online HRIS systems, with the way that the department is moving in terms of their online systems, it's really critical that businesses put into place digitized solutions to manage their employee base. Next slide, please. So where are we talking about? Well, basically anywhere in Australia. And the reason is that over the last 20 to 30 years, we've developed a pool of people in Australia, about 1.5 million people who are on temporary visas. Each of these different temporary can only work for a specific period. Others can only work for a specific employer in a specific role. There are lots of different combinations of what we call visa conditions, and breaching those visa conditions can be very serious. Prior to COVID, there was about 1 in 12 people in the Australian labour market who held a temporary visa. That meant that virtually all organisations who had a workforce of 10, 15, 20 people were likely to come across someone. And it means that large organisations, particularly in certain sectors like healthcare, retail, IT, have large numbers. Some of our clients have up to 30% temporary visa holders in some of their businesses. Temporary visa holders are known to be subject to exploitation, and the government has introduced lots of different laws over the last 20 years to ensure that they are being treated correctly. And what our software does is allow organisations to manage their obligations to visa holders to ensure that's happening. Slide, please. So immigration compliance is complex. We often say in immigration law that it's the second most complex area after tax. There are 4 separate compliance regimes within the Migration Act and regulations that employers need to manage and navigate. It's also time consuming. Some of our clients have up to 700 visa holders, 1,000 visa holders. And if you're trying to manage all of your obligations to these different visa holders across different organizations, it's a huge amount of time. Okay. And what we've done is we've designed essentially an online SaaS platform that allows you to manage those additional obligations and integrates with your HR system to allow you to do so in a fashion that's very streamlined and really reduces all of that additional time. It also helps you to manage those risks that are associated with breach of the law, as well as operational risk. If you've got an organization, for example, a public hospital, one of our clients, 85% of their doctors are on temporary visas. If you breach immigration law and you lose the ability to sponsor those people, that becomes a huge operational risk. How are you going to manage your private hospital? How are you going to manage your business if you can't get those critical staff? And the last one is ESG and GRC. We all know that immigration compliance causes a lot of issues. And as a result, it's really critical that people manage correctly. Next slide, please. So there are some examples of the different compliance regimes. Penalties are being increased 400% to $75,000 per breach. There are criminal penalties for directors, which a lot of people aren't aware of. Next slide, please. So our system has 3 different modules. We've got a workforce module that integrates with your HR system to ensure that you're tracking and managing visa obligations. Next slide, please. I think I've only got a few seconds left, Alison, is that right? We've got training modules that ensure that you're updating your staff on what they can and cannot do, whether they're a visa holder, whether they're a line manager, whether they're in HR. This is along the lines of your sort of modern slavery micro training to make sure that you're telling people what they can and can't do, because that's really critical in these no fault schemes. Next slide, please. We've got a knowledge module so that HR managers can train up. We've even got an Immigration 101 course, which is equivalent to a university subject to allow your HR people to become subject matter experts. Slide, please. And all of these things come together to really create a centralized governance platform. It's a SaaS model. You pay per temporary visa holder. And then basically over the course of the year, as that number fluctuates, your licenses will go up and down. Slide, please. And at the moment, we're working on SAP, SuccessFactors integration. Our next HR systems will be Workday and Bob. And the other things that we're doing are really working on supply chain transparency. So if you've got suppliers, the other area that this touches on that's not immigration directly is modern slavery. If you're running a supermarket, for example, and you want to make sure that those people who are picking strawberries out in the fields are getting paid the correct wages, this is the sort of product that you need. Thank you so much, Alison, and everyone.
Thank you so much. That's great. Now over to Cube.
Thanks, Alison, and welcome to everybody who's joined another successful RTA presentation. Today, I just wanted to give a very brief introduction to Cube and how we are focused on transforming regulatory compliance. Next, please. The marketplace. Well, the marketplace for fines has grown incrementally over the last decade, to say the least. And those fines are typically affecting large brand name customers. You know, nearly every week we see another fine to those organisations. But due to the rise in complexity of regulation and the velocity that this regulation is coming out, it's no wonder, because it is complex. And it's not just enforceable regulation today that is changing rapidly, but also the communication from regulators around future regulation. ESG is a very, very good example of that. So our customers need not just to know today what is enforceable, but what in the future is coming down the pipeline. And that amount of content is enormous, whether you're a single jurisdiction customer or multi-jurisdiction. The amount of data that's available for any regulatory change is simply enormous. And that data is beyond the ability for most organisations to be able to accommodate. Over the last 10 years, we've seen large customers increase their compliance teams by 2 to 3 times. This is not sustainable. And for small and medium companies, it's not even something to consider. So being able to make sense of this data, this regulatory change information, that has a huge impact on any customer's credibility in the marketplace, but also, you know, their ongoing profitability. We need to be able to start to use AI to make sense of it, but more importantly, to make sure that it's relevant to the business activities that each of our customers and enterprises have in the marketplace today. We need to reduce the costs associated with being compliant, and we need to be able to fit this data into ongoing compliance frameworks and governance practices so that there's consistency and conformity across the enterprise. Next, please. So at Cube, over the last 10 years, what we've developed is a platform that's focused on making sense of the regulatory data today for our customers, but also what is coming down the track, the horizon scanning focus of regulatory change that's going to occur in the future. And obviously we're focused on 3 major areas, and that is reducing the risk for each customer, but driving efficiency and the use of data to remove bottlenecks, communication issues, but also to speed up the workflow within the organisation, within their governance and risk processes. And then therefore transforming the compliance framework within those customers. Next, please. Our SaaS solution is called Reg Platform, and it's based on natural language processing, supported by AI classification of regulatory text. So this is purpose-built. It's our own IP. It's been in place and growing continually for the last decade. We use the technology to break down regulation, look at the concepts, look at the topics, the themes, and be able to align those to individual business activities, products, topics, sectors, etc. So basically take the data, cut and slice it, and layer it with metadata that conceptually can be mapped to individual organisations and business activities. Next, please. We track regulation globally across every country, state, territory, and across every language. And we also translate that back into English. This is a minute-by-minute activity. The only delay is when there is a translation processing requirement for the text that we're consuming. Next, please. So the end result for our customers is effectively, one, profiling their business activities, aligning relevant regulation and horizon scanning commentary of future regulation to their business activities. Being able to surround that with metadata that actually makes conceptual sense of where that data and regulation is relevant to their business activities. So out of a 100-page regulation, which section is relevant to this particular business activity, and which area of regulation will have impact to particular controls and policies. So with that, I thank you for your time, and I look forward to any questions.
Thank you so much, David. Well, over to you, Engage Hub. Colm.
Thank you, Alison. Hello, my name is Colm Dowd. I'm head of RegTech for Engage Hub. Great to get the opportunity to speak to you today, and looking forward to explaining how Engage Hub can support your firm in the area of conduct, culture, and ethics. Next slide there, please, Nathan. So Engage Hub are in business over 20 years. We've offices in London, Dublin, big operations in Brazil, and we've reseller agreements in the Middle East. And we've just acquired a company in Australia, so we have a great team now down in Sydney. Our sectors include financial services, government, telco, retail, and we're moving into pharma. And you can see from the screen, we have some great customers across those verticals. Next slide, please, Nathan. So what do we do? Journey orchestration is our cornerstone. We support firms map customer journeys, business journeys. We support organizations with journey analytics solutions. And we do this in the areas of contact center optimization, marketing, and regulatory automation. Next slide, please, Nathan. So the problem statement, conduct, culture, and ethics is a wide topic with multiple different challenge areas. I'm just going to discuss a couple of key ones that we can support you on today. So complex regulatory landscape, and we know from Peter's mega trends, there's a huge amount coming at firms at the moment between ESG, consumer protection, financial accountability regime, and more. So very complex environment. We've increased customer employee expectations with straight-through processing, fair value, working from home, single sign-on, and more. And then we've complex journeys and challenges around evidencing outcomes. So multi-channel, omni-channel, multifaceted customer needs. So again, very complex area. Next slide, please, Nathan. So our approach significantly supports firms bringing their purpose and values to life. So first of all, knowing your regulatory obligations is first, then understanding in detail your customer's intent, providing products and services that protect customers, and then tracking customers' outcomes in real time, which again, creating that culture of compliance and ethical design. Next slide, please. So firms need to understand the regulatory obligations in the areas of conduct and ethics. RegSolve is our regulatory change management platform. We have 8 modules. I'm just going to briefly talk about 3 today. Next slide there, please. So first of all, our first step is we attempt to move customers and firms from compliant to efficient, that idea of walking before you can run. And we have 3 entry-level modules that encapsulate horizon scanning, regulatory workflow tool, gap analysis, and audit and reporting. And this is a great foundation which removes those massive time stealers. And we find that starting there is the right foundation, and we can move on then to our other modules. Next slide, please. So intent capture, understanding in detail customers' desired outcomes. Next slide there, please. So on the screen, you can see our full intent capture process. I'm just going to focus on the first 3 steps. So again, number 1, we use speech to text to capture full data sets of inbound contact to a call center, not just samples like customer complaints or deposition codes. It's a full data set of what your customers are saying to you. Number 2, we do an intent analysis, and we complete a series of recommendations then, which moves us on to an MVP of either one journey or a number of journeys. From a cultural perspective, this is a fantastic learning loop, which provides that listening, analyzing, and then taking action. Really popular with a number of our clients at the moment and getting great traction, particularly in financial services. Next slide, please. So product recommendations. So providing products and services that protect customers, not just the bottom line. Next slide, please. So just going to focus on one here, Message Authenticator. Message Authenticator allows customers to quickly, easily verify any message they receive from a brand. This product is designed to combat smishing. A client of ours who deployed this product, 40% of their customers queried, 40% of the messages that were queried were actually fraudulent. So no complex integrations required, protects customers and employees, a very ethical product, fully automated. And again, this is an award-winning product that is getting great traction with our banking clients at the moment. Next slide, please. So then evidencing customer outcomes, tracking customer outcomes in real time. Next slide, please. This is what we call our customer journey tracker. There's a lot of interest in this product at the moment in the UK, as is a requirement under the new consumer duty that customer outcomes must be evidenced in real time. You must be able to visualize all customer data feeds, and this product does exactly that. And not only outcomes, but also insights into journeys like CSAT surveys, drop-off rates, and pricing. We have integrations in over 30 jurisdictions with Medallia alone, which shows the scale that this product can operate at. The pensions regulator in the UK use this product through one of our partners, HGS, to evidence and track their journeys. So it's a really, really impactful tool that brings together all customer data sources, visualizes it, and then again, when we talk about conduct, we talk about culture, you'll be able to see your customers' outcomes in real time, be able to spot emerging risk and act in an appropriate fashion. So this is, again, something that a lot of our clients would use. Thank you for your time, and please do reach out to hear any more about what I discussed. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. My compliance office.
Hi, a very good afternoon to everyone today. My name is Tanuja. I'm the Asia Pacific Sales Executive of My Compliance Office, the leading compliance management solution for highly regulated firms. Over to the next slide, please. As all of us might have been aware, there has been a recent surge in the level of scrutiny conducted by regulators who have shown no mercy in imposing sanctions against firms that are non-compliant. And of course, on the other side of the world, while we do see firms investing heavily in multiple systems, these systems often than not fail because of data gaps and data redundancies. Next slide, please. Now, the good news here is that with My Compliance Office, firms can now avoid compliance hazards because what My Compliance Office brings to you is a truly centralized compliance management solution with a complete set of integrated data where you have the access to multiple compliance products all situated in a single environment with a single login, the power of one. With My Compliance Office, we enable compliance to be built better, and we do so by delivering software and technology at low budget, enabling compliance departments to increase business efficiency and utilize resources more efficiently. We also allow our clients to grow together with us. Our clients have the ability to start small and expand to other areas of compliance as they grow. With My Compliance Office, we focus primarily on identifying conflict of interest checks around areas such as insider dealing, market abuse, of course, your compliance oversight, horizon scanning, and also providing you with the unparalleled transparency using our extensive dashboard and reporting capabilities. Next slide, please. Now, with our easy-to-use compliance oversight system, which is made possible with our Know Your Obligation product suite of solution, firms can now deconstruct regulations, frameworks, controls, policies into visual maps to communicate obligations and track changes made to these obligations. Now, firms have an aggregate view of their risk profile, enabling compliance departments to set regulatory priorities, identify gaps in policies and procedures, and streamline operations. Next slide, please. At its core, My Compliance Office is truly a centralized system, a SaaS-based technology provider, really providing you with the overall compliance oversight. Think of it as a control tower where you have the overall compliance oversight of your firm, spanning across the varied compliance product suite of solution that we provide with Know Your Employee suite of solution, where you're able to address and monitor your employee compliance activities. Know Your Third Party, where you're able to monitor and assess third parties and risk assessments. Know Your Transactions would be your control room compliance, wall crossing, front running, tailgating, and Know Your Obligations would be primarily your horizon scanning and compliance oversight. Next slide, please. A great news I'd like to share with the group here today is that we have recently acquired a firm called Fairwords, which has allowed us to include an additional product capability to our Know Your Employee product suite of solution. This would be the e-communications surveillance. Now firms have the ability to use the AI technology to detect and analyze potentially harmful, unethical messages and prevent them from sending across these messages to avoid insider dealing and market abuse. Next slide, please. This slide illustrates primarily that aside from the state-of-the-art technology that we have provided to our clients, clients that have invested in My Compliance Office have seen an impressive ROI calculation for both small firms and large firms as well. Next slide, please. At its origin, My Compliance Office truly speaks your language. And the reason why I say that is that we have originated by ourselves in a highly regulated firm called Fidelity Investment back in 1998. And of course, in 1998, when we first developed, we were, of course, addressing the compliance challenges and activities. And in 2008, we decided to branch out and create a standalone business of our own. 15 years down the road, we have grown tremendously, acquiring about 1,300 clients in across 105 countries. We have offices across in the globe, from Singapore, Hyderabad, Dublin being our headquartered office, New York, Texas, and Chicago. And of course, we have implementation resources spanning across Singapore, Dallas, and Dublin. Next slide, please. We have also invested heavily in a high quality service standard spanning across our global clientele family, including our APAC region. We have invested in an APAC office that has been led by Kellyanne McHugh, our APAC director. The team size has grown tremendously, and we have expanded out services such as implementation, customer support, customer success to our APAC clients. Next slide, please. We're truly trusted and proven, but more importantly, we're highly scalable. We have been working with clients as small as less than 20 employees to clients well over 100,000 employees. Next slide, please. Aside from the accreditation that we have attained from our clients, we've also seen multiple awards that we have won that has recognized us on an industry standard level as well. Next slide, please. Of course, we do record compliance on the go. We're accessible across all browsers and all devices. Next slide, please. Now, all in all, I just want to very quickly summarize that we are the only service provider with a single integrated platform that's highly flexible and configurable. We're always innovating and continuously improving, investing in back about 30% of our revenue year on year to allow our clients to stay ahead of the ever-changing regulatory framework. Privately positioned, we direct our own destiny without the intervention of any external investors. And we put a long-term focus in mind with a long-term commitment to our clients to be the global standard for the firm's GRC's platform. Thank you so much. I do believe that I have left behind a deck on a QR code, which you can essentially scan in with us to learn more about My Compliance Office. Otherwise, I'll leave behind some articles for you to have a read. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Oho.
Hello, everybody. So OHO is a purpose-led Australian organisation. We currently are Australian-based, but we do have plans to expand internationally. Next slide. Our mission is to protect the vulnerable and assist community organisations to effectively manage people risk. You're probably aware of a recent high-profile abuse case in Queensland, which has highlighted the potential blind spots in these registers. Next slide. Accountability for ensuring all people are always suitable for work sits at the highest level of every organisation. It's just like OH&S, privacy and cyber risk, but it's often less understood, and historically automation hasn't been available. As Peter indicated, updated worker screening requirements and a focus on director accountability is driving a need for better governance. Next slide. Traditionally, community and care businesses like education, sport, health, aged care and disability haven't been well supported. The solutions in place are not adequate enough to mitigate this risk. Background screeners will charge huge fees to complete a one-off check at the start of an employee life cycle, and then ongoing you'll find that HR and compliance systems can record this information, but they can't link and verify directly with the relevant register, so the information is stagnant. The admin burden is heavy in these under-resourced sectors, and the risk is actually very significant, as you'll see in the slide. Next slide. So how does OHO help, and what is our point of difference? Put simply, no other system validates live and ongoing against these registers nationally. For recruitment, OHO has a faster, smarter recruitment solution that validates checks almost instantly and reduces time to hire in a tight labour market. OHO uniquely then screens ongoing. So it manages the complexities of state portals, linkages, and ongoing verification centrally. If there is a change in status, OHO will notify the relevant person to enable swift intervention. In larger and more complex organizations with a network of entities, OHO will provide central visibility of all personnel in a live dashboard. OHO also has a live tamper-proof audit trail and is fully integratable to your system of choice. So you can integrate through the front end, or so you can use it from the front end or integrate through the back end as well. Next slide. The benefits are pretty simple. Businesses will reduce their risk, they will increase their visibility, and they will streamline and automate their processes, circa 3 times ROI. We currently cover APRA, VIVO, NDIS, and working with children and teachers checks nationally. At this stage, we are the only tech in this space that is able to centralize all of these checks. There is an aged care card that is set to roll out next year, and we will continue to build out our capability based on our customers' needs. Next slide. Though we're only 2 years in, we've already partnered with over 100 organisations, and we are just getting started. We would love to hear from you, especially if you are in the community and care sectors. We like to keep it short and simple, so thank you for watching, and please let me know if you've got any questions.
Thank you so much. That was very impressive. Within time. Well done, you. And last but certainly not least, we have Ripjar. Over to you.
Hey, thank you very much indeed. Yeah, my name is James Mullins. I'm head of sales for Ripjar. A quick 5-minute kind of introduction to both Ripjar and something that we called AI risk profiles. Next slide, please, Nathan. So who is Ripjar? I'm not going to go into kind of a lot of detail about all the background, but essentially we came out of British Intelligence, GCHQ, and for those of you who know that kind of side of the kind of intelligence community, it's very much about how you extract value from kind of large kind of scale data sets, and that's really what we're doing today. The 3 items I want to kind of focus on is we are very good at actually kind of collecting data both internally, externally, whether that be structured, unstructured, and actually kind of enabling analytics across that data to actually kind of help you find risk. And I'm going to talk us through some of that kind of over the next few slides. But essentially, the type of analytics we're looking at is how to extract entities and actually do the resolution of those to your clients, whatever they may be, kind of using kind of AI, NLP, machine learning, etc., to do so. Next slide, please. So what's the challenge? So it's really screening at scale, and everything here is all about volume. So the volume of data, there's around kind of 3 to 4 million news articles per day. How do you actually find a risk within that? When literally 1% of that actually contains risk, which is actually kind of personal to you. Volume of clients for both onboarding and actually for kind of ongoing monitoring of those clients. How do you do those kind of periodic reviews, etc. And actually using traditional methods, kind of like, article-based screening gives it kind of a huge amount of false positives. So how do you mitigate that and actually make your analysts far more kind of efficient and effective? Next slide, please. So we've kind of pulled together risk profiles. We've been kind of working within this kind of screening kind of space for about 6-7 years now. And we have kind of had an evolution of that capability from traditional kind of articles based into what we call a risk profile. And the risk profile is essentially a consolidated view of all of that data about a person and entity, and actually all the kind of elements of risk associated with them, and any kind of connections that they may have through their kind of network, etc. So really coming back to what Peter was saying earlier, is how do you actually kind of go over that data, find the dots of all those kind of elements and risk and expose them. And that's what risk profiles are doing. Next slide, please. Just again, high level, this is actually using AI to actually make sure that any kind of collapsing of that information that we do around these individuals is very concise and accurate. So we're kind of using a lot of kind of items that we've learned over multiple years to actually make sure that as we kind of collapse down kind of information into a profile, it is highly accurate. And we're using kind of various techniques, including contextual matching, etc. Next slide. So why are we doing this? So if you kind of look at traditional article-based screening, it takes time. It takes a lot of kind of effort to actually find, the right kind of people, and the elements of risk that you're actually looking for. So it's really kind of transforming that screening. What it's really doing is kind of massively reducing the overhead of actually kind of looking for this. So your analysts don't need to kind of go through irrelevant kind of evidence to try and actually find the kind of individuals or entities actually that you're looking for. And what it's doing as well, by actually not looking in silos, but actually looking as a consolidated view of risk, you're actually finding things that kind of previously would have been hidden, but as you look for those silos. So we're actually kind of pulling it together, exposing the risk and allowing kind of analysts to make kind of much more informed decisions. Next slide, please. To give you an example of that, kind of David Cameron, Prime Minister in the UK, very easy to kind of find if you do a search. But David Cameron, the kind of low-level drug dealer in Portsmouth, how do you find him? If you actually do it over kind of traditional kind of systems using article-based kind of methodologies, you'll be searching for kind of days and hours kind of to actually try and find the kind of low-level kind of drug dealer. By actually merging it into risk profiles, the consolidated view of David Cameron, the Prime Minister, greatly kind of reduces down any other articles that you need to look for to actually find the kind of low-level guy. Next slide, please, Nathan. So how does the system work? Very, very quickly, we're data agnostic. We plug data in, kind of, whether that kind of be the structured, unstructured. We run it through an analytics pipeline to extract the value. This is across multiple languages and scripts. It's actually kind of doing transliteration of names, etc., and then merging them into a risk profile, which we then kind of merge to your clients for ongoing monitoring, or if you're doing a kind of a screening for kind of onboard a new customer, etc. It's very, very easy to do, and actually kind of helps simplify the process. Next slide, please. I'm not going to kind of dwell too much, but we kind of support multiple languages and scripts. We're kind of running risk classifiers in over kind of 100 risk topics, so we can actually capture most items. And we have kind of name variants, kind of a database of about 4 million. So we can actually do things like transliteration on names. So if you actually search for James, it's also going to search for Jim, Jimmy, Jamie, etc. Next slide, please. Two different kind of use cases. First one here was an onboarding for a very large kind of tier 1 bank. Over the traditional method of actually doing article-based screening, we kind of reduced the screening activity down to 3 minutes from a previous 14 minutes, which is a massive saving. And if you can go on to the next slide, please, Nathan. This is the big one. And if you can click a slide one more time, actually, I think there might be a little bit of a kind of item that comes up below it, hopefully. But if not, there you go. So tier 1 bank globally is saving about 2.6 million minutes now compared to traditional methods by actually kind of implementing the risk profile kind of way of screening. That equates to about kind of, I believe, 5,400 days. So it's quite a significant amount of time, burden, overhead on analysts that we're actually reducing by implementing this capability. And that's me done. And I haven't mentioned the Matildas once.
Except for now. Nice, nice. You really just had to put that in, didn't you? Yeah, go Spain. We're hoping, we're all in Australia, everyone's rooting for Spain now. So good luck with that. Thank you to everyone, and thank you to all our speakers today. Yet again, another great Edge event. I wanted to tell you about some events that we've got coming up next. We've got 24th of August next week. We've got a virtual event, RegTech Matters, which includes an Austrac update and also some RegTech case studies. We've also got on the 29th of August a face-to-face Melbourne member meetup. So this is for Melbourne members only, and it's also an opportunity for you to come and meet Nathan and hear some more about our global plans. And on our global plans, we are reimagining our Accelerate RegTech event, and there'll be more of that out to the community soon, but keep an eye out for that. So thank you again for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you at another event soon, and take care.